Meet Milan, the co-founder of NanoGPT. He was a crypto policy advisor for the Dutch central bank. With his deep understanding of both traditional finance, crypto, and technology, he now leads NanoGPT, an AI aggregator offering affordable access to over 100 models. In this interview, we dive into his journey at the network school, discuss complexities of crypto regulations, Bitcoin versus other coins, AI privacy concerns, and much more. Welcome to our conversation. Hi, Milan. Thank you for being here today. Well, it has been super interesting to meet each other here. We're leaving right now at the network school. So I'm curious to know, how have you found this experience so far?
For me, it's been really good because I think the most interesting part is just you have a lot of interesting people around you. Like everyone has this very specific knowledge about, could be brain-computer interfaces or the best way to generate content or create content or how AI models work. Like there's a ton of very smart people, I think, who have very interesting subjects and very interesting stories. And I just like being surrounded by people who are intelligent about these specific subjects and very driven in what they do.
And you came all the way from the Netherlands, right?
Yeah.
Did you ever imagine that you will move to the other side of the world within a couple of days' notice?
No, so we had just come back from 6 months in South America. I was working remote from there. My girlfriend had a sabbatical. And that's when Balaji posted about the network school. So the first time we met our friends again, we had just heard that we were accepted for the network school.
Your story sounds very similar to mine then, because I was living in Southeast Asia and I was also in a sabbatical and then went back home, and then I was here at the school. I think we were all pretty excited to be chosen as the first cohort to be a part of the whole concept of executing a network state through the network school.
I think that was what I found attractive about it as well, also because it's the start of it pretty much. They always said it was the V1, but that makes it fun, I think, because nothing is set in stone and everything can be changed.
Yeah, it's been quite fun and different to be living in a hotel for 3 months, because you were here from the very beginning, as I can remember.
You too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's quite a tight group at this point because like everyone knows each other.
It bonds you in a different way. Even though we're gonna be going home, we're still gonna be connected.
Yeah. I think we will, because there's other places where this might be set up as well, which I would like to check out. I don't know how much about that is known yet, so I won't say. I think it would be really cool. I really like the idea of this. Just you're constantly surrounded by smart people, by interesting people, and you have just interesting days in a nice location and with good surroundings, like healthy food, healthy living. So it feels great to me. I think I definitely want to come back to something like this.
Yeah, absolutely. And just even before this interview, we were talking about how like stunning it is outside, and that's something that we don't get back in our like home cities or home bases, where you open your window and you see the beautiful beach and the sand, and it's quiet and you can get a lot of work done.
Yeah, it's a bit ridiculous because it was like, this is going to be frontier, not fancy.
Yes.
We're like,
this is pretty fancy.
Yeah. Like, I don't know what fancy is like if this is frontier. But living 3 months in a hotel, you get used to it as well.
Totally. And we don't even need to cook because the meals are already being sold for you. Or if you don't want to eat here, you just order online.
Yeah, very easy living. You don't need to think about anything else pretty much. What you're doing all day is like working on your startup for many people, or learning, or talking to interesting people. You have nothing else you need to really think about. Like there's no cooking, no sort of chores that you have to do or anything.
And can you tell me a little bit more on your upbringing into the crypto world?
I first got into crypto, which back then was just Bitcoin, in 2012, mostly because I was playing an online game. And we would sometimes transfer money between each other, or like between friends, or between gamer friends. And someone like at some point said like, there's this cool internet money thing, Bitcoin. And we started using it just for fun. Like it was super cheap back then. It was very cheap to transfer with it. And it was this sort of funny internet money really. So started getting into it a bit back then, but never took it too seriously. And then in 2017, 18, there were in crypto the block size wars, where I don't want to get too technical, but it's more about what the future of crypto was going to be. Some people thought it could be money that everyone can use, and some people thought it could be like digital gold. Like you don't use it, but you save money in it. I found that very interesting, fascinating. I was studying finance and like economic policy related stuff. So there it's super interesting to have the sort of traditional system as we know it, with a central bank deciding, okay, we're going to print more money, or we're going to print less money, we're going to set interest rates, all that kind of stuff, versus a system where no one decides, where it's all fixed in computer code. Those were such different worlds, and it was like super fascinating to me. Then I started working at the central bank, the Dutch central bank, which is like the complete opposite of crypto again. But it was super interesting because then you learn about both worlds, because I was discussing crypto on Twitter and on Reddit, but then my work was like the traditional system and talking to people about like how the traditional system worked and could be improved. So yeah, that was my journey into crypto. And then I would say I got more into it over time. Like in 2017, 18, I was still sort of lurking and just learning about stuff, but not really actively discussing or, posting about it, I think. And then later I started writing articles to help other people understand specific things about crypto, started using it myself more, started sending it out to other people, and now like accepting it for a business. So I would say my role in crypto has grown over time.
And what is super interesting is that you have been in the trenches of the regular system because you were working at the bank.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, you were also working on helping them develop the crypto policies at the bank, right?
Yeah. So I first worked at the central bank in other roles, like supervising banks, working in financial markets, that kind of stuff. But at the end of my time at the Dutch central bank, I was the crypto policy advisor, because essentially central banks also see that crypto is a thing. Back then they also saw it. And they are like, okay, what do we do with this? What policies are we going to make on this? Like, the first is, do we even allow people to use it? Do we want to make it easier for people to use it? How can it help our financial system? Because it's not just a competitor for central banks, but it can also be, if we can do payments more efficiently, that's good for the country, good for the people in the country. So they were trying to figure out like, okay, what are the good parts of crypto that we want to take and promote and use more? And what are the parts where we disagree or what we see as not being valuable, pretty much. And they asked me because I was one of the few people in the central bank who knew about crypto, because it's like a different world, pretty much. So I was asked to advise on crypto policy, and I did that for not too long, I think 3 or 4 months. I was like very pro crypto in many ways, like pro at least giving people the choice of, do they want to use fiat currency or crypto? Do they want to pay in euros or in Bitcoin or whatever? And the central bank, I felt like, wasn't really open to that idea. They mostly wanted to say, okay, there is this crypto thing, but in the end, everyone should be using fiat currency. That's the way it felt for me. So anytime I would have discussions or something, it would just end up with me like getting frustrated, because I would present like the pro and con arguments for crypto or against crypto. And then I felt like they would just ignore all the good parts about crypto. So I got a bit annoyed. And then I left the central bank because I figured, okay, I really think crypto can do a lot of good in the world. And I didn't think I was actually doing enough good by being at the central bank. People who work at a central bank, they often, the higher up you are, the longer you've been working at the central bank, and the more strongly you believe in that what the central bank does is the correct way of doing things. So I think it's hard to change people's minds from within, because it's just a system they're used to. And I think the better way is just showing from the outside that this can work better, and explaining to people and showing to people that the system can be better, especially the people who aren't locked into the other system yet. So I think you can change things from within the central bank, but I think I overestimated how much you could actually change from within the central bank.
And in an ideal world, how do you see the banks getting onboarded into crypto?
Yeah, so I think for me, it's more about people should have the choice to use crypto or fiat or whatever they want, because I think crypto is the better option in the long run, but I don't think we should force it on people. Like El Salvador, for example, with the Bitcoin sort of legal tender. I don't think that's the best way to do it, just because you shouldn't be forcing people to accept Bitcoin or crypto or whatever. But if people can freely choose, then I think you will see a move to crypto over time, just because if you can hold fiat currency, which you know is being debased, and like where you have inflation your money is becoming worth less, or you can hold crypto where you don't have that, then I think many people would choose crypto. And if you have fiat currencies where like you have payment processors who charge you a lot of fees, or you have crypto where transactions are cheap and like fast and whatever, I just think crypto works better. So for me, the ideal would be we still have banks, we still have everything the way we do now, but they're more accepting of crypto, and instead of you having like your dollars and euros in Revolut, you can also have your crypto there. And then if people pay at stores, some stores will start accepting crypto as well, because I am a merchant, online merchant. It's super expensive to accept credit cards and regular payments. Like it's honestly, it's so much in fees. Whereas we also accept crypto, we offer a discount because it's just cheaper to accept. It's better for us. So I feel like if countries become more open to it and give people free choice, if banks become more open to it and give people free choice, which I think banks might actually be interested in, it's just regulations make it kind of hard for them at the moment, then I think we're going to see a move to crypto over time. So I think for me the ideal is just we sort of see it as an open competition between fiat currencies and crypto instead of trying to promote fiat currencies. And then if you do the open competition, I think crypto wins because it's fundamentally just a better system. It's better for people, I think. That would be my ideal.
So freedom of choice, basically, in a
Yeah.
world where people can integrate whatever tool as they see fit and use their own judgment and situation.
Yeah. I think that makes most sense. Like you shouldn't force anyone to use any form of money. And that's, I think, kind of what is happening with fiat currencies to an extent.
Yeah. And you also had a lot of opinions on Bitcoin, and I'm curious to know, like, how were you putting all of this information out there as you were also working at a bank? Because that can be paradoxical or ironic thing where I'm wondering if you got into trouble, or how were you able to navigate that process of being so pro crypto while working in an environment that it's rooted deeply in the system?
Yeah. It's quite funny because within the central bank, I was definitely known as the pro Bitcoin, pro crypto guy. And I would argue for like, okay, why might Bitcoin be good? Why is crypto good? And that's just a sort of reputation you have at some point. But at the same time, I was on Twitter and on Reddit anonymously discussing crypto and like very vocal about the flaws that I saw in Bitcoin and in crypto in general. And being quite critical, I think most people would say, of crypto. And saying like, okay, if we keep going this way, it's not going to work. We need to improve, like Bitcoin has a lot of flaws. So within crypto, I think I was known as like anti-Bitcoin. And at the same time, in the central bank, I was known as like the most pro-Bitcoin guy.
Oh, wow.
And it's so funny because it's just like,
Yeah.
it's a bit like, okay, what is like extreme right wing in one country might be like seen as, oh, that's kind of like left wing in our country. It's just two completely different worlds. At one point, this is why I was thinking about the pro-Bitcoin, anti-Bitcoin thing. I posted a thread on Twitter, essentially pointing out what I saw as the flaws of Bitcoin, the long-term issues that it has. And a lot of people on Twitter got very pissed about it. A lot of like Bitcoin enthusiasts got pissed about it. And some of them got so pissed about it that they dug deep enough to figure out what my real name was, because I was anonymous on Twitter. And they contacted the central bank about like me posting on Twitter, being critical of central banks on Twitter, to try and get me to stop posting or get me fired. So that was a bit of an issue, or at least it was annoying. The central bank was super chill about it. They were like, do whatever you want in your free time. If you want to discuss crypto, that's good, you get to know more about crypto, and it's only good for us if you know more about crypto because you can do your work better. So they were super chill about it, so I didn't get in trouble with the central bank or anything. I think it was more troublesome on the crypto side. Like if crypto people knew I worked at the central bank, then whatever I said about crypto would be discounted as, oh, but you're a central bank shill. You work at the enemy pretty much, so we don't trust you. So that's why I was anonymous on Twitter as well. So I would say I'm critical of a lot of crypto. I think many crypto just have very serious flaws, and I don't criticize them because I'm trying to like dunk on anyone. I just think like if we're genuine about this and we want to make this a global currency that everyone can use and everyone wants to use, then we need to point out what mistakes are and what the flaws are and fix them or find a better option.
Did that ever put you in like a tough situation, like about your safety?
There was also like death threats, but like I feel it's keyboard warriors. It's always easy to type that kind of stuff.
Right.
So they would like send a message with my address and everything in there, and like, okay, like stop this kind of posting, or we'll find you, and like we know where you live. And but I never took that too seriously, to be honest, just because I feel like the people who would actually do something like that wouldn't go announcing it, or wouldn't go like actually threatening it.
In a counter argument, you can also look at it from a different point of view, where you were deeply rooted in that system, where you were seeing how things were working behind scenes. That informs you better on how the discrepancy of a regular bank operates versus the crypto industry, and it gives you a lot of intel into the opportunities that can be brought onto the crypto side of things as well, right?
Yeah.
So it can be like a very powerful advantage that it gave you, because it's easy to attack someone online.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's quite valuable to see both sides, or to get deeply into the arguments that both sides have, because some of the arguments that central banks would have are like quite fair, or at least they take some time to argue through and to be like, okay, but like I understand the argument, but this is why, you know, this actually works with crypto. It's quite valuable, because if you want people to start using crypto and to adopt crypto, then you also need to know like what is stopping them now. And within the central bank, and with many people I talk to, it's like, okay, but crypto is full of scams, and like it's only these meme coins, and people are trying to pump and dump, and like that's partially true. That's the worst part, right? It's like you always have to get through that explanation first to be like, yes, there are a lot of scams and everything. But I think it's good to not purely be in the crypto bubble where you're like, oh, everything works so well and it's great. Like for many people, it's like, no, crypto is terrible, and it like the energy usage, it ruins our planet. And you know, a friend of mine got scammed, and it's like, okay, yeah, we should actually improve all those things. Like if that is what is stopping people from using it, then that's very good to know. It's like useful information to have, I think.
Totally. And it requires, I think, like a degree of financial literacy in general for someone coming into crypto, to educate themselves on how to navigate the industry or the space in order to avoid these things from happening, right? You can't just come in expecting that everything is served to you in a silver platter, which is now happening more and more in 2024, and it will be in 2025, because a lot of the apps are way easier to use than back in the day. You know, MetaMask, not Rabbi wallet, and all these UI components are coming up where it's just easier to use and handle crypto. But before, it used to be very manual. So I think like it does require that level of due diligence in learning and reading and watching videos to understand how to properly get onboarded on it.
Yeah, I think so too. And especially maybe for older people or less technologically savvy people. Those are always the ones who get scammed first, right? So, and in the traditional system, it's possible to like roll back a transaction. So if someone manages to, I don't know, take money from your bank account, it can to an extent be rolled back. And then it's like, okay, you got saved pretty much. And in crypto, it's like a very hard world in many ways, where it's like, if your money got sent, there's nothing anyone can do to get it back. It's like if I hand you cash and you run off with the cash, like there's no one who can magically take it back. You would have to get the police and everything. So I think that takes some getting used to for people. And yeah, I'm not sure. I think that's just something crypto needs to improve as much as possible. You're right, like it is getting easier, but still telling your parents or grandparents to set up MetaMask and like store these 12 words safely. And like if you transfer to someone, make sure you have enough gas. And like, what's gas? It's like, oh, it's what you pay to do transactions. And they're like, I pay to do transactions? Like with my bank, I can do it for free now. And it's like, all of it is actually compared to the system that they know. It still takes quite a lot of explanation. So I think it is getting better, but still it's not always natural for people, I think.
No, and I think that's the area where we need to do a better job in general of helping people get onboarded alongside their due diligence of also learning things. But we're talking more about the extra hand that the older generation may need, or the non-tech people who are oblivious of how to even set up a wallet, right? Was a DEX and all this terminology that can be incredibly overwhelming.
Yeah, yeah. And it's also funny because, for example, a DEX or like NFTs, people in crypto are like, oh yeah, this coin has smart contracts and a DEX. The average person doesn't care at all. Like, if I just am used to holding euros or dollars, why would I care about a DEX? Like, what is a decentralized exchange and why should I care? I just want to have my money and use it and spend it in a shop or something. So yeah, there's also a disconnect, I think, between the crypto world sometimes and like the real world, where people just want to be able to pay for their food, like with a card or something.
Totally, totally. And as you're bringing this up, I'm curious to know what is your opinion on Bitcoin at this given moment in time, as it has hit the $100,000 USD mark and it's meant to be a storage value currency, but for that reason, like, people don't want to circulate it because they want to hold into it. So what are your thoughts on where Bitcoin is at?
So I think it's partly that people want to hold on to it, why it doesn't get used for payments a lot, but also I think Bitcoin sucks to do payments with. Like, if we're being realistic, so we accept a lot of coins on our website. That's like, I don't want to pay any fees to do my money transfers, and then I have to wait for like an hour before the transaction is confirmed. So I feel like Bitcoin was a first version of crypto, and it was like a huge revolution, but it doesn't actually work super well if you look into it. So my take on Bitcoin is, I think, to be honest, that it's the reason it's worth so much and the reason so many people invest in it is mostly it was the first. It has like the first mover advantage, and it's the name that everyone knows. And when people say crypto, they think Bitcoin. I don't think it's actually working all that well, and I don't think it's what is going to work super well into the far future. This is also the like thread that I wrote about the issues with Bitcoin. Like, what most people think crypto is like this futuristic money, and then you show them like, okay, I do a transfer, now we wait an hour for you to get your money.
Even if you're using the Lightning Network?
No, so you can use Lightning Network and then it's quicker, but then the only Lightning Network is honestly really hard to use if you don't use a custodial solution, because otherwise, if you want to use the Lightning Network, even creating a sort of channel, it's called, between you and I, we would first have to do a transaction to open that channel. So then you already pay fees for that transaction and you have to wait until like it's on chain pretty much. So the Lightning Network, unless you abstract away all of that difficulty through like custodial solutions like banks or payment processors or whatever, is also quite a difficult experience.
And this is why I'm always constantly wondering, and I know Bitcoin is the digital gold version of gold and the circulation of it. And like, I am even going soon to El Salvador to learn more about how is Bitcoin circulating, how are we doing with onboarding people into this coin ever since it became legal tender. And last time I was there earlier this year, I saw a little bit less businesses using it. That was my personal experience, and I could be wrong, but is that circulation of money that you want to have in an economy that right now is not happening, because as the price goes up, people want to hold onto it more and more. Of course, you want to earn in Bitcoin, but you don't want to pay in Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think to an extent that's maybe the case, but I think if it would be super easy to pay with Bitcoin, like if it had zero fees and it transferred instantly, then I think if you are a merchant and you want to have Bitcoin because you think it's a good store of value, you think it's going to be worth more, then you would just say like, okay, there's a 1% discount on paying with Bitcoin, or a 5% discount or whatever. Because for us as a merchant, it's better to accept Bitcoin than like accepting, I don't know, dollars and having to convert it to Bitcoin, because that also costs money, right? So I think ideally you have a form of money that is a really good store of value, but also that is easy to pay with. You can just pay directly in Bitcoin, like you save some conversion fees, the merchant saves some like payment processing fees or also conversion fees. It's just way more efficient if you have all of it like in Bitcoin or in a crypto, because then it makes sense, right? Like that's exactly what we do on our website. So we think crypto is a better store of value, and we want to store like our reserves in crypto. So either we accept dollars and euros and we have to convert it into crypto ourselves, or we just accept crypto directly and then we don't have to do the whole conversion thing, which costs us money. So what we do is if you pay with Stripe, you just pay as usual and we store the profit that we have in crypto. If you pay in crypto, we give you a 5% discount because it saves us some money. We don't have to convert it. And also it saves us on payment processing fees. But then with Bitcoin, that's still not worth it for most people because the fees that they pay to do a Bitcoin transaction are higher than the 5% that they save compared to paying just with like credit card. So
Right, because a credit card will be on average 3% in most places.
yeah, it's actually higher. So credit card with Stripe, for example, you pay 3% plus 30 cents. So if it's a very big amount, like say $100, then it's like 3% because like the 30 cents doesn't matter much. But we also have payments of like $5. And then if you pay $5, 3% is only 15 cents. But the fixed fee is like 30 cents. So in total, on the $5 transaction, we pay 45 cents in processing fees, which is 9% of like the total amount. So for us, it's like we have many small transactions. So then credit cards are super expensive to accept. So we would rather just be paid in crypto where we don't have all of these fees.
And as you mentioned this, can you tell us a little bit more about your company, NanoGPT?
Essentially, it's a place where we have every AI model in one place. So like ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, Perplexity, Gemini, any model you can think of, we have all of them on the website and anyone can just use whatever model they want to use without needing a subscription or like being locked in any way. So you can literally select ChatGPT, then you're like, okay, I actually want to hear from Grok. So you select Grok and then every message you send costs a few cents or on average like 1 cent. Kind of depends on like what model you choose and such. But we think it's a way that everyone can access all of the top models, like the best AI models there are, without needing the subscriptions, which can be quite expensive because like you pay $20 for ChatGPT, $200 now if you want to have like the pro version.
Yeah.
We think many people cannot afford that or don't want to pay that much, but they do sometimes want to use these models. So we want to make it as easy as possible for people to use it when they need it, pay what they use, and don't have the subscription. And we want to give people a bit more privacy as well, because if you use ChatGPT, you pay with your credit card, and then you do prompts about like your medical history, or like some people use it as like a therapist. I would prefer if my prompts that I do with all my personal stuff are not linked to like my name, my payment details, everything, because that's like the ultimate sort of honeypot of like, if advertisers want to, or if they want to make money, sell that data to advertisers because it's like fantastic data to have on everyone. So we don't store any of the prompts, any of the conversations, and the like providers that we use, they cannot see who is doing what prompt. They can only see like someone is doing a prompt and asking this, so they cannot link it to any names or anything. So we think, yeah, it's just easier access, cheaper access, and more privacy. And then, yeah, we accept payments in fiat currencies like credit cards and in crypto because we think many people in the world, originally we started with just crypto because many of our users are in like countries where they're not as rich and many people don't have credit cards. And many of our users actually spend like 50 cents or something or even less. And then there's no way to do that with credit cards. So we decided on crypto because you can literally deposit 10 cents and then ask a few questions. So like our thinking is we want to make it broadly accessible to anyone in the world. And then you need more than just credit cards. So we have crypto and credit cards.
Which is honoring what you were talking about earlier today on giving people the option to choose whatever works for them.
Yeah, it's exactly that. We know many people are not used to crypto, so we offer credit card payments for them. We would prefer to be paid in crypto, so we offer a discount on paying with crypto in the hopes that maybe it causes some people to look into it. We don't try to like evangelize crypto and be like, oh, it's perfect, it solves everything, because I think that's a step too far for many people who are not in the crypto space. But we have a page where we explain why we prefer to accept crypto, and it's like it saves us on payment processing fees. Like any merchant, any shop will understand like, yes, payment processing fees really suck. Like it's costing us a lot of money. So we hope this way maybe some people look into it a bit, maybe some other merchants look into it and they consider accepting crypto. And that way maybe we can expand the network effect of crypto a little bit. That's our hope, at least.
And how many models do you have right now offering up in your website?
More than 100. I don't know exactly how many,
Wow.
but literally any model you can think of, we have it. So it's all of the big models, like literally every single one. But then we also have uncensored versions because some people don't like the censoring that it does on like political stuff, for example. We have specific ones that are sort of fine-tuned for role-playing or storytelling that some people use. We have models that are very specific for coding or programming, some that are better at translation stuff. So we just, like, our thinking is we offer everything and then people can just choose for themselves what works best.
And how do people know what model to use for their intended purpose?
Yeah, that's actually the hardest part, I think. So there are websites that do like comparisons. They rank the models in terms of how good they are for coding or for just overall or for math or all that kind of stuff. So we try to offer some sorting options so people can just sort by overall or sort by coding skill or sort by math or something. And then we just rank them from top to bottom. And then we hope that sort of helps people, but it's something we want to improve because it's just too many models now. It's like, how do you ever even choose?
Could AI suggest to people what model to choose if they specifies what the outcome is, so that way you can choose the top 5 or 10 out of all 100 plus models?
Yeah, that's our thinking. That's what we want to add very soon, because we think most people don't really care that much which model they use. They just want to like get the best answer. And like you don't care if it's NVIDIA Nemotron or Llama, whatever. Like people just want to get the answer, right?
Totally.
So that's what we're going to add very soon. For now, I think most people, if they aren't sure, they just use ChatGPT because it's the most well-known. So we have like recommended model, default model is ChatGPT. Many people also use Claude 3.5 Sonnet, which is another quite well-known model, I think, for like people in the AI space at least. I think for many regular people, it's like they know ChatGPT and that's it.
Yes, and they have very different purposes from what we've been learning at the school, at the very least. But I know you were ahead of that already from all of the content material that we've been having throughout the weeks.
So I think, I mean, ChatGPT works quite well for most purposes. Not always the best. And for coding, for example, for development, Claude is actually really good, also compared to ChatGPT. But also some cheaper models are really good. So we offer cheaper models on our website as well. We actually have a few models where you could do like 50,000 prompts for like $1. So
50,000 prompts.
Yeah, so it's like every 1 cent gives you, I think, 500 prompts. They're that cheap.
Whoa. So how long have you been running the company for?
So we started it, I would say, like half a year back, pretty much. But back then we had only one payment method implemented, which was Nano. And we started accepting more payment methods about 7 weeks ago. Credit cards, more crypto payment options. So that's when it started to actually really grow. So yeah, it's not that old as a company.
Wow. So I'm just here thinking, right? Like I pay for a full-on ChatGPT subscription, and it doesn't make sense if I can just go to you and have access to all of these models for cents, pennies, literally, which is a better option for me, and especially people like in Latin America, where I come from. And I know there are other parts of the world too, where people don't have as much disposable income who need accessibility to all of these tools, not just the free ChatGPT, but the actual enhanced version.
Yeah, I think so too. We have a lot of users who spend very little, and I really like it because I think like, okay, these are people that like just cannot afford the big subscription. One story that I've told a few times, we had a user from, I think, Kenya or Nigeria. He asked for medical advice on something. And I was like, I'm not sure if I would go for medical advice. Like, I don't know if I trust it that much. And he's like, yeah, but my alternative is a shaman in my village. So he's like, this is like way better than my other options, and it costs like 2 cents. So I think for me, it's very nice to know that we can actually sort of help people like that people get value from it.
Absolutely.
And we also have an earn page that we added to our website, because there are some ways that people can earn crypto by watching ads, for example, or playing games, or like it doesn't pay a lot, but it pays like $1 or something. But for some people, that's like, okay, I earn $1 here. I can actually use it immediately for this AI tool. And for them, it's fantastic.
Yeah, how many prompts is that, or how many uses?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I think that's the way we want it to work, so that people, even if people don't have credit cards, they don't have access to a crypto exchange to buy crypto or whatever, they can use our earn page and like earn a little bit of crypto and use that to like access these AI tools. I think that would be great, and I think that would actually help a lot of people, because so the way I learned to do programming is with these models. And I think there's many people all around the world that can learn skills by using these AIs.
What's your message to the people out there who know very little on how to use these AI tools, to encourage them to jump onto these waves?
The easiest description is I see most of these models as a super smart friend, or like a master's degree student, or maybe PhD level now. So I just use it to ask like anything pretty much. And the more info you give it, the better it does. So I would say for people who haven't used it, like just play around with it and try it out. Try it with getting it to suggest recipes to cook or workouts to do, or something very simple just to get started, and it's only improving every time. So yeah, it's very valuable.
We're at the PhD level, and from what I know, the next level will be at the organizational level too.
Yeah.
Where these will be able to also run companies on their own, which is like pretty well.
Yeah.
And within that vein, what is the wildest thing that you have seen on your end when it comes to someone using your AI tools?
We don't see what people use it for, of course, because we don't see the prompt and conversations. But I know quite some people who have started learning to program just literally using NanoGPT, and they have built like super cool things. Someone built an implementation where they set up their own website, and you can just input our API key, like our sort of login from our service, and you can put 3 models side by side and compare their answers. Or you can have a battle of the coins. This is what someone else built, where you say, okay, I want these 5 models to look at these 10 coins in crypto and tell me which one is the best for payment, or which one is the best in terms of scalability or something. And they just have the AIs discuss with each other and get to the final answer. But there are so many of these things that people built using our website, which is super cool. Someone else now built a bot for on Blue Sky, like the Twitter alternative pretty much, where you can directly use it on Blue Sky. So you can be like, okay, under a post that someone does, like generate an image of whatever. And it's just really cool to see it getting integrated and implemented in all of these different ways.
So you're changing a lot of lives and helping people get creative with experimenting a lot.
Another thing we added recently is long stories by Uri, who's also here at the network school.
Yes.
And essentially it generates shorts, right? It generates a short video, which they're really cool and they're really fun. But he even abstracted away the prompt engineering. So you input like very simple, like funny video about a dog. And then it sends it to his long stories. And then it generates a story itself. So it converts your very simple one-liner into an actual story with a storyline and a hero's journey, for example. So even that prompt engineering, it's like getting simpler and simpler, because now the AI sort of improves your prompt for you and then feeds it back into another AI. It's crazy how quick.
It's helping you do your manual job, basically.
Yeah. It's a bit ridiculous how good it's getting.
Right.
It's quite amazing.
And what's your vision overall? What's that bigger thing than yourself when you came to build NanoGPT?
People can increase the amount of things they can do very easily by using AI tools. Like I would never be able to do the programming that I do without these AI tools. And I think it's really cool if you can do more things yourself. Like it makes it so much easier to set up your own company or to explore a new field or something. So I feel like it can really improve people's lives in many ways, people's productivity, people's abilities in the different stuff that they can do. So yeah, our thinking is we want to make sure it doesn't end up with only the Western rich people being able to access the top tools, because then there is a lot of inequality, right? And I think the best models are a bit expensive or difficult to access sometimes. So then the inequality only gets better. If you have a $200 a month subscription that you need for the top model, there's no way most of the world is going to be able to afford that. So our thinking is we want to make the tools as broadly accessible to everyone as possible. And then I think it can make life a lot better for everyone.
What's your next step for 2025?
We have to keep up with like the scaling the
Totally.
entire time. And it's showing no signs of slowing down, so that's very nice for us. So for next year, I think we keep working on improving the service. We have many things we want to improve. We want to do taking away you have to choose a model you have to figure out yourself what is the best model. We want to abstract that away. We just want to go, people input a prompt and then we figure out like, okay, which AI should we use for this, so that people don't have to think about it themselves. We want to add video generation. We want to add a bunch of other tools. Essentially, we think there's a lot that can still be improved about the service. And we're working hard on improving that, but it all takes time to do so. But at the same time, it goes really quickly nowadays with AI. So 2025 feels like a super long time, because I look back and I think like, this is what we've done in the past 7 weeks. And it's like,
Wow.
hundreds of things, honestly, at this point. So what we do over a full year, I don't know. I think we improve our service even more. We give more people access to it. And also we might move into business to business at one point, because we think many businesses could also really use the ability to have every AI tool at once instead of like...
Absolutely.
So, yeah, so I think there's a lot for us still to grow and a lot to improve and expand.
Totally. And like when you say business to business, like every department in an organization has their own set of skills and set of challenges, right?
Yeah.
And it comes in handy when people can utilize these tools in order to focus more on strategy and automate the day-to-day operations, the tactical, the admin, the mundane, because they're doing things that are not allowing that creativity out of them because some things need to get done. So I see a huge opportunity for NanoGPT to go B2B.
Yeah, I think so too. I think if you ask a regular employee, everyone will have some things they don't like doing. Imagine having someone you could outsource all of that to. Like that would be great, I think. So that is the level that AIs are getting to, or these large language models are getting to. Like you can outsource a lot of stuff to them. So I think for many companies, it becomes a sort of no-brainer to go like, okay, I can double the productivity of my employee by using this relatively cheap model. That's totally worth it for most companies. And I think it's totally worth it for most people, because you can keep doing the stuff you like and like outsource the stuff you don't like doing. So yeah, I think it's kind of a no-brainer. But then we do have to start setting that up, and it's just always tons of stuff to do. So it's a lot of hard working now.
a lot of rapid growth that has happened to you while living here in such a short amount of time. And now something that I want to bring up, going back to a couple of minutes ago, is what methods of payment do you generally use the most, you personally?
So I think, sadly, what I probably still use most is just regular card payments, my Revolut account. I thinking what I use most for crypto stuff. So I use Nano a lot. It's the crypto that we also accept on our website, or like the first one we accepted, and the one that I think works best as money, to be honest. But in my daily life, crypto is still not accepted that much, right? So I've also used Solana here a few times at the network school, but still it's also very easy to pay with card here. So I think in my daily life, the only thing I don't really use that much anymore is cash. It's just mostly cards and quite some crypto at this point. Also because we have a few providers that we use where we can pay in crypto. So that makes it easier for us. We want to kind of promote using crypto. So we ask our providers, like, is it also possible to pay in crypto? But my daily life, honestly, is still mostly just cards. Yeah.
Right, right. Yeah, and that's a challenge, especially in the Netherlands. I can imagine that it's still a little bit far away from bringing crypto, unlike countries that are now making it legal tender,
Yeah.
to be incorporated
Yeah.
into the system.
Yeah, I think so. Like in the Netherlands, I don't think there are many places where you could even pay with crypto. Or in some places you probably can, but then it's such a hassle often still to pay in crypto compared to paying with card. So unless, in many places, unless they offer me a discount, I'm like, oh, okay, like might as well just pay with card, right? So I think that's something we need to improve on in crypto. We need to make it super attractive for merchants to accept crypto. Like make it super easy, make it clear they can save on their payment processing fees, make it clear like it's a better alternative to Stripe or whatever they use. If people do that, then I will also be able to use crypto myself more, obviously. So I would love to see more of that, and like I hope we can contribute a little bit with that with our own website. We use a ton of different payment processors for crypto, and we like gladly help any business that reaches out to us, like how did you do this and how did you implement this, or what did you use to accept, I don't know, Bitcoin Cash or Monero or something, because we've been through it and we know sort of how it works. We know how you can easily set it up. So yeah, we think it slowly grows over time, and I think we can do our part in growing it quicker. And it's not actually that hard anymore to accept crypto, but most people don't really know yet, I think.
Totally. And because you mentioned Nano, is that because it's related, if I'm understanding right, to the Nano coin? Because that was the first one that you start.
Yeah, so we called it NanoGPT because at the time it was like, okay, we accepted only Nano at the time, and everyone knew ChatGPT. NanoGPT makes sense, like put it together. I think it still works kind of well even with the other payment methods, because Nano is also like very small, and people do like very small payments on our website, like they do small prompts. It's like, okay, it's a sort of micro version of having your own AI. So I think Nano still kind of works. But yeah, originally the name came from accepting Nano.
Gotcha. And what have you built your company on? Is that like on the Ethereum layer, Solana, or?
No, so Nano is like its own coin. It's like a whole separate network, but we only use it for payments. It's not like we built the entire website in a smart contract way or something of the sort. It's just a traditional website, like as Web 2, I guess, as it gets.
Got it.
And the payment side, we have like crypto integrated in every possible way. But I think building a full website on crypto, like I don't really see the point that much. It's going to be slower and more expensive to use.
Yeah.
I think crypto is great for payments, but I also think sometimes we try to fit crypto into everything where it doesn't really always make sense. So
that's an interesting point that you bring up, because I have seen that very often, especially in the last couple of months, where people, when they run businesses, they want to go 100% crypto and forget about the good things that we have in Web 2, and hence why integrating them can be a powerful thing to do, because it can't be fully on chain as much as we want it to be. We're just not there yet, because even though it's been quite a few years already since the crypto industry has been around, we are still feels like at the beginning of this huge revolution that we have a long way to go to bring more things on chain.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think maybe it's because I got in crypto like a long time ago, but back then it was only payments. And I think the sort of ultimate use case for crypto is still payments and store of value. And I think many of these smart contracts and NFTs have some value, but I don't think they have as much value as some think right now. Like I think right now the market values it quite highly, the sort of speculation in meme coins, NFTs, all that kind of stuff. And I think in many cases what we're trying to do is we see a problem and we ask, how can crypto solve this, or how can blockchain solve this? And with our website we were more like, okay, what is the best way to solve this? And then it's not always crypto. For payments we think it is crypto, so that's why we do the crypto payments and like the discount and stuff. But for many other things it would be sort of like trying to get it to work with crypto where it just completely doesn't make sense. So we want to use the best option at all times, and I don't think that is crypto for like actually running the website itself. I don't even know of many examples where a website is like fully run on crypto, to be honest.
Totally. Yeah. I was even having a conversation with a friend of mine who was trying to find an alternative for Gmail for their company that was secure and on chain.
Okay.
But there isn't really like a G Suite full stack available in the crypto side of things that can simulate the benefits of Gmail. And therefore, they still need to rely on Gmail or Microsoft because it's just easy to use and it has a lot of perks. As much as they want to go full on crypto, it's not possible. And therefore, like, I think people need to draw that line between being practical and avoiding to overcomplicate things.
Yeah, exactly. I think so too. Because with the payments, it's like you can see the advantage, right? Like if you can do faster transactions, you can do cheaper transactions, you can accept from anywhere in the world. That's like a very clear advantage. And then it also has some disadvantages because right now it's harder, like you need to swap your crypto into fiat currency sometimes because not everyone accepts it. So there are positive aspects and there are negative aspects. But I think the positive outweigh the negative. And I think with much of this other stuff, it's like there are some positives to it, but they're very small. And then the downside is like pretty big still. So it's like, okay, trade-off is not worth it, I think.
You gotta pick and choose your battle, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And what are the things in crypto that you are very skeptical or aren't a fan on, if any?
For me, it's largely the whole smart contracts, NFT side of things. I think it has some value, but I think one of the things about crypto is because you do this in a decentralized way, you have to send the data to a lot of people the entire time. And you have to keep a pretty big network synchronized. Everyone is storing a local copy. It's a lot of bandwidth. It's a lot of messaging going back and forth the entire time. And there's a limit to how much you can be sending back and forth the entire time, just because if you only have 100 MB a second connection, then like that is your limit. You cannot pull in more or upload more. And for me, it's payments and store of value is the most important thing that we should solve first. And I think if you start adding in all of this other stuff, then you sort of crowd out the payment side. Like there's not enough capacity, I think, to do all the things that everyone wants on one layer, on one chain. So for me, I would prefer it if for now we focused on just getting the payments to work perfectly and to be scalable so that everyone in the world can use it. And then if we get to that point and we expand our bandwidth and our processing power so much that we can do all of the payments and still have like space left over pretty much, I think for me it would be then we start adding in stuff like NFTs, smart contracts, all that kind of stuff. But for me that's a lower priority. So I'm more skeptical of the actual value of the NFTs, smart contract stuff. I would prefer to just focus on payments because it's an issue every person in the world has. If you're being debased, if you have like inflation on your currency, if you pay fees as a merchant to accept money, like literally almost every person in the world could benefit from this. And I feel like with smart contracts, yes, some people can benefit, but the benefit is smaller and it's not like literally everyone in the world that's going to benefit from it. So yeah, I would say I'm more skeptical of the NFT side of things or smart contract side of things.
How about the players out there that are emerging, that are using a lot of smart contracts for moving the money between DEXs and the wallets? What are your thoughts on that?
So we accept a few of them, like layer 2s, like Base, for example, Optimism, Arbitrum, that kind of stuff. They work quite well, I think. I think they're not as decentralized as I would like my money to be, because in many cases there is still like sort of one entity behind it, or they're not as secure because there's like a small group of people that could like turn it off sort of in some cases. So I see some value in it because compared to using Ethereum, it's a lot cheaper to use these layer 2s. And I think people like sort of the complexity of it and the speculating on it and being like, we added another thing that you can do with it, which I think it keeps people enthusiastic about it in a way. But the thing with DEXs and all that kind of stuff, I see that as sort of secondary because I don't actually want to be exchanging my money constantly. I would prefer to use exchanges and DEXs as little as possible. I just want to have one currency where I can use it and spend it and store it, like have it as a store of value. So then I don't see as much value in being able to use a DEX to trade my Nano for, I don't know, a dog coin token. So maybe at one point if we bring more stuff on-chain, like if you can also do real estate on-chain or put art on-chain, car ownership, all that kind of stuff, I think then it becomes more valuable to have decentralized exchanges because you need to be able to trade them in a specific place. But for me, that's still a bit far away, I guess. For now, I just see the value in being able to use it as money. That's like my primary use for it.
Got it. Yeah, it's definitely an interesting world right now. It can be a huge learning curve for a lot of people. I know it was for me at the beginning, and it was like a maze of trying to figure out how to like put all of it all together. And I'm still learning. You never end learning.
Yeah.
And before we wrapped up, where do you find the time to balance your physical needs and also your business?
I guess I've been quite particular in getting enough sleep and eating healthy and working out a lot and stuff. And now it's just more difficult because it feels like I'm doing 16 hours a day pretty much or more for NanoGPT. I think being here makes it easier because the workout that we have every day, it feels not optional for me. It's like I just have to go to the workout because that's part of the routine here pretty much. And especially with the challenge to get the most burns in this month. So I think the way I try to do it is make it non-negotiable. And then the going to bed on time is getting harder. And running, for example, I run a lot. So I try to keep that up. And then I see it as you also need some thinking time sometimes. Instead of only being typing and outputting, you also sometimes need some reflection time. So I try to convince myself that way, like, okay, in the long run, if what you want to do is build this, then you have to be healthy and you have to be fit and you have to also give your mind time to sort of decompress sometimes. So I think that's my way of trying to convince myself that I need to be healthy because it's better. I think that's the way I currently do it. I think that's also kind of the spirit of the whole blueprint part of the network school. If you want to perform to the best of your abilities, then it's not the best way to work 20 hours a day and sleep too little, because you sleep too little, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to be performing suboptimally. If you don't eat healthy, your body gets worse, but also your mind sort of gets worse after a while. So I think being here with the sort of whole blueprint thing built around us makes all of this a lot easier. I'm actually I'm a bit sad about leaving because then you have to do the routine by yourself now.
Yeah, we have professional trainers here looking after us every single day, which is wild.
It is.
And you also did the marathon in Singapore, right?
Yeah, half one in Singapore.
Half one. You run a lot of kilometers the week before.
I think it was 115.
In 1 week.
Yes.
And you were at the top of these. They basically had a challenge to see how many people were running the most within a 7-day period, I believe.
Period.
And these are the memories that you're going to be able to tell in the future about your NS experience.
Yeah.
And I fully agree with you. I'm deeply going to miss this whole infrastructure. You're learning a lot every day.
You're learning, you have fun people around you. It's, I'm actually really going to miss it, I think.
Yeah, I hear you. Thank you so much for giving us your time. And I would love to see people really give this a try, because that is a bargain of a deal in terms of the service that you're offering and your personal vision and mission, that I think I definitely want to be a bigger proponent of in Latin America, at the very least where I'm from, because people in countries like Venezuela, Argentina are really in need to have accessibility to tools like this.
Yeah.
So I would love to hear more on where can people follow you.
So I'm on Twitter as Milan _DeReede, because it's a Dutch name, it's very difficult. I think if you type in Milan, formerly Mira Hurley, you will also find me. Funnily
Right.
enough.
Your anonymous pseudonym?
Yes, my anonymous name that I went by. Or if you search for NanoGPT, you will find our website, luckily. We're also on Twitter as NanoGPT.com, like C-O-M, I think. I don't really have Instagram or anything else. I just live on Twitter, pretty much. So yeah, that's where to find me.
Awesome. And we'll also link them in here for people who want to follow through. And well, thank you so much for your time and presence. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
until then.
All right.